you're so beautiful. You're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Up early this morning, and I know God smiled on me. Ain't no time to sleep, no, no. I can't wait to start my day because I know it's gonna be beautiful like me. You're so beautiful, you're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Hey, you're so beautiful, you're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. I look into my mirror, I love everything I see. Ain't no mistakes on me, no. I always remind myself there ain't no other me. Can't nobody else be. Hey, you're so beautiful. You're the truth, and you remind it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. You can have it all, yeah. Hey you, hey you, hey you, hey you, hey you. Hey you're so beautiful, you're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Hey you. You can have it all, yeah.
And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, salutations, greetings, assalamu alaikum, hello, ciao, wherever you are tuning in this week to Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Friends Radio. So much happened this past week to talk about some good things, some upsetting things. So, we're going to cover it all this morning. I thank you for wherever you're tuning in from around the world. So, Saturday night, I don't know what Monday night, I'm sorry. I don't know what you were doing, but I was tuned in to the Brandy versus Monica battle and literally time stopped. It was so fabulous. Oh my God, ever. So let's just go into the stats of all this black girl magic that was happening Monday evening. So, as of right, before their battle, Jill Scott and Erykah Badu knocked it out of the park with 1 million views on Instagram and all the other platforms the Versus TV battles go. But Brandy and Monica,
3 hours long.
Yeah, that was the other thing, which was amazing. Okay, so since it streams on Instagram, which only lets you broadcast for an hour and then it stops you. So most of these battles, they did the hour and then they came back for a little bit and then they left. So maybe the tops was an hour and a half. Brandy and Monica, over 2 breaks, gave us 3 hours. Amazing. You're literally basically getting a free Brandy and Monica concert. And they broke the records. Okay, so 6 million, repeat, 6 million viewers. Cumulative from Instagram, Apple TV, the other platforms that the Versus was streaming on. 6 million people tuned in.
They say R&B one day.
Million.
They were really good songs.
Oh, it was amazing. And so, in the days since, all of Brandy and Monica's albums are in the top 40 of Apple Music. So you're like, right away, you're seeing the impact in commerce, and just really shows how loved and respected these icons are in the musical landscape, and not just music, but culture in general, and just a strong, independent, empowered women who have been at the top of their game for over 20 years. Of course, Brandy and Monica came up together in the 90s. And so we're going to have a little music history right now. So Brandy and Monica came up as peers in the 90s. And over the years, on and off, they've had their beefs. And a lot of times, not so much anymore, but especially in the 90s and early 2000s, these manager and publicist teams would have this ongoing strategy of they would try whoever the top female stars were, whether it was music, film, what have you, they would try and pit these girls against each other to sell magazines, and they would literally try and spark girl drama feuds to keep people in the news and all this. And of course, this was before social media, a lot of this. But sadly, and we've talked about this before, a lot of times I feel these management teams don't see that when you're dealing with artists of the caliber of Brandy and Monica, that their talent is enough. And I hate that they try and pit strong, talented women against each other to fight and be catty and be jealous. We can't uplift each other and everybody thrive and be supporting each other like Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande and Jill Scott and Erykah Badu. And oftentimes behind the scenes, a lot of these artists that were quote in these wars, in the press, were actually friends. So, as Monica had spoke a couple years ago, that at one point the beefs went from being just played and fake to real. So they've kind of gone up and down in their relationship, but it was so nice to see Monica and Brandy just celebrating one another, holding each other out for their talent. Some people were saying that Monica was throwing Brandy shade. I didn't really feel that or see that. They're just two different types of women. Brandy is very on the cuff with her feelings and her enthusiasm and everything. And Monica's the more kind of chill, gritty, kind of reserved, stoic type. But, they did have a few glitches and a few moments. But overall, they were hugging, they were having a good time, and they were celebrating each other, which was just amazing to see. So the live started off with Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris coming on, which was so badass. And so she was just giving thanks and recognition to all that Brandy and Monica have brought to the R&B landscape over the decades and women in music, and encouraging people to vote. Brandy and Monica have been one of many artists who during this time have really been speaking up, encouraging people to be involved and to vote. So now, the other exciting aspect of this is their Instagram Live, this whole Versus, was also raising money for organizations funding voter registration. And so the Instagram Live raised $250,000 for the When We All Vote organization, which is amazing because now they're giving this organization resources for marketing campaigns and to get out in the community and help raise awareness for people to vote. So now the ladies ran through their fabulous catalogs, and it was full of both Brandy and Monica reflecting on different moments and times in their careers, past collaborators, giving inside tea on people they were dating. I didn't know Monica and Usher dated I had no idea. And Monica spilled a lot. I mean, they were both giving so much informative tea. Monica dropped during the show that her and Ludacris are cousins. I had no idea. And of course, Ludacris guested on one of Monica's songs. I had no idea that they were related. So, of course, they were also talking about like life stories, and Brandy talked briefly about Whitney, and they were both talking about people who inspired them. And Brandy, I thought it was really cool. She was reading poetry before a lot of her turns, and I got mad. I saw some people online kind of throwing Brandy shade for writing poetry. Okay, she's an artist. That's what artists do. They create and they express themselves. And what do you think a song is? It's poetry set to music. You know, I thought it was great because then we were getting more of a look into her creative process. So, of course, Fat Joe had a pre-party on his Instagram where he was there with his DJ playing through some of his favorite Brandy and Monica songs, talking about it. A lot of celebs were on the feed and all jumped in, and it was so cool to see some of your other favorite artists and personalities fanning out. Michelle Obama was on the feed, Miguel, Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, Seven Streeter. And it was also funny to see, like, people were reaching out to each other on the feed about writing songs and collaborating and doing this and that together. And Brandy and Monica kept teasing about doing a tour. Queen Latifah was so funny. And everybody was saying, this needs to be a tour, this needs to be a tour. And Queen Latifah said, look, I don't care how many masks I need to wear and how far away I have to be away from people. I am here for a Brandy and Monica tour. So, I mean, I think it would be awesome once it's safe and people can travel and all the logistics that go into doing a tour can happen. It would be amazing if they went on tour. So, now, of course, we've spotlighted 2 weeks ago, Brandy, when she released some of her new music. So I just want to take a minute just to spotlight Monica and some of her career highlights. So Monica released her debut album, Miss Thing, at the age of 12. In 1995. Now we're going to be playing many of her songs, taking you through some of my favorites of the Monica catalog, since we did Brandy about 2 weeks ago. So when you hear the songs today, Skate, Angel of Mine, and her big hit, which opened her up to the market, Just One of Them Days, Don't Take It Personal. She was 12 years old when she recorded these songs. She was 13 when her album was released. And she also talked a bit during the verses that when her and Dallas Austin and some of the other producers she worked with first got connected, that they initially brought her in to do background vocals on some albums for other celebrities at age 12. And so that's kind of where she cut her chops. And her and Brandy were both talking during the verses about when they were younger, they would have background vocals, but now from other artists. But now they like to do a lot of their own background vocals. But I think there is an advantage to that. Well, one, it's more cost effective. And it's cleaner with royalties and everything. But then also, when you go to perform it, it's easier to blend in with your own voice than other people. And hypothetically, if you can't get backup singers or you want to save the money, like on tour, you could just be singing along to your own vocals. So now, several of Monica's singles became #1 pop and R&B hits, like Don't Take It Personal, like This and Like That, Angel of Mine, Before You Walk Out of My Life. Monica is also an accomplished actress. In the 90s and 2000s, she acted in TV series Living Single, Felicity, and American Dreams. Now, another interesting fact that Monica dropped during the show is that Queen Latifah was managing Monica for a while. Yeah, so, and then of course, Brandy was on the Set It Off soundtrack. Was a big hit off of that soundtrack, Missing You, which of course Queen Latifah starred in. So at that time, it seems like they were all kind of running in the same circles. So I thought that was really interesting to find out that at one point that Queen Latifah was managing them. Managing Monica. So now Monica has sold 5.3 million records in the U.S. alone, and she was nominated for 4 Grammys, and she won 1 for The Boy Is Mine, which of course her and Brandy duetted on. And Brandy told the story that when Monica's CD, Miss Thing, came out in 1995, that was right around the time Brandy just got her TV show Moesha and had released her song Baby Baby. Yeah, she's doing a lot. Like, I think people forget what a massive teen star, Brandy was, not just in music, but in TV. Brandy talked in depth about how she was just so impressed when Monica's debut CD came out, and her confidence and her swag. And she was only 12, 13 years old. And she said, oh my God, you've always had such a great sense of self and confidence. And I saw you and I thought, I have to work with this girl one day. So when The Boy Is Mine song came on her to Brandy, she said in the verses that I just set out like to stalk you down, that we have to do this song together. So it wasn't originally going to be a duet. So Brandy just thought that would be just such a great collaboration. And of course in the 90s, The Boy Is Mine, well, it was a pivotal music video. It really was a culture moment. Of course, Mekhi Phifer, who was like the hot it boy at the time, and he was on ER and, a lot of movies and TV guest spots, and he was the hot muscle-bound guy at the time. He played the love interest in the music video that Monica and Brandy were fighting over. Well, the funny thing is, Mekhi did a promo video for the verses, because this was so big that people were doing commercials in support of it, and just because everyone was so excited. So he came up with this cute little video, which you can see on the Versus Instagram live page and Mekhi Phifer's page, where he was pretending like it's now, and he's getting in his car and he's on the phone talking to his wife and this and that, and then Brandy calls him, and then Monica calls him, and he gets in the car, and he had his mask on and was sanitizing. So props to Mekhi for keeping those messages going. But so then he hangs up the phone and he says, I'm not talking to either of you. I'm not stupid. I have a wife now. And then they started playing the song in the background. I was really, really cute. So mean, of course, Brandy had and has more of a pop R&B, more lush sound, where
And light voice.
a light voice, whereas Monica has a richer, deeper tone, and her content delivery and just overall persona is a little bit more edgier, grittier, more street. And her other big hit, Street Symphony, right? So, Brandy's more like a girly girl. Her son, right? Yeah, and then it had club hits and mainstream hits, where Monica just came with the richness and the deepness and just belting out the songs, but she's more gritty. I think that's also what people were responding to when they're like, "Oh, Monica's throwing her shit." I think that's just Monica being
That's
Monica.
just her,
Yeah, that's her personality. If Monica didn't feel some kind of way about Brandy, she wouldn't have done the verses. Yeah. So I think we all need to just. Right? I think we just need to look at these two amazing talents came together, these two amazing queens, and took us down memory lane of the amazing hit arsenal and just great R&B 90s music. So the first half of the show, we're playing a lot of my favorite Monica hits. So we're going to kick our first musical break with some of my favorite Monica songs. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the VMAs and another benchmark that Tyler Perry just accomplished. So keep it locked into Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends. It's just one of them days, and we'll be right back.
The music. You gotta listen.
I'm still holding on, champion of the game. They say whatever don't kill you, make you stronger. Well, I must be the world's strongest woman. See, I done done a whole lot of going. Everything you say, I'm already knowing. Cause I'm against the wall. Everything you're going through, I've been living for. Seen them all come, and I've seen them all go. You can bet your legs that my hip won't hit the floor. Never, I'm still standing, 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 standing. I'm still standing, 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 standing. I had a lover take his own in front of me. I asked God, why is this happening to me? But I didn't fall. I held my own, and now I'm deep in love with who I belong. This is my life. They say with age comes wisdom, and the white flag I can't give them. Trying to tell you how it's supposed to be. See, this is more than just a song to me. Cause everything we do, everything, yeah. Seen them all come, seen them all go. You can bet your legs that my hip won't hit the floor. I'm still standing, 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 standing. I'm still standing.
I'm unbreakable,
Yes, I
baby.
am.
Luda,
Yes, I
yeah,
am.
it's a family affair. What up, Cloud? I may have done the things they said I did, but I'm not who they say I am. Tryna throw my name in the dirt, but I really don't give a damn. I'm still standing like the Statue of Liberty, and I put my name in the history book, so you'll forever remember me. Remember me as the toughest warrior or the ultimate fighter, cause I'm the truth and nothing but it, like my hands on the Bible. And this is survival of the fittest. The realest is not a facade. Still standing on my 2 feet, cause I'm a child of God. Do something.
You can bet your legs on me, cause I'm still standing, 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 standing. I'm not gonna give up now. I'm too far to look back. Everything we're going through, I've been there before. I seen it, I've done it, I'm done. Let me live my life now. I let it go, I let it go, I let it go, and I let it go. Don't hate me now, I ain't who I used to be no more. I'm still standing, I'm still standing, I'm still standing. Oh, I'm still standing, I'm still standing. You can't take this joy I have. Hey. When I first saw you, I already knew there was something inside of you, something I thought that I would never find. Angel of mine, I look at you, looking at me. Now I know why they say the best things are free. I'm gonna love you, boy, you are so fine. Angel of mine, how you changed my world, you'll never know.
song. Oh my gosh. 12 years old. 12. Can you imagine being 12 years old and having a voice that rich and powerful and amazing and being able to express such vocal artistry? Not even as a teenager, 12 years old.
Right.
All right. Just keep that in your head. When you're hearing some of these songs we're playing today, she was 12 years old. Amazing. I mean, at 12 years old, I was thinking, about my games and playing in the woods and MTV and stuff like that. So now, speaking of more amazing women and great powerful artists and voices. So the VMAs were just this past week. Of course, like many award shows right now, they presented everything remotely, and things were pre-recorded and streamed in, and social distancing was maintained. So Keke Palmer hosted and did an amazing job. And she was given so much great fashion. And she actually sang and danced. Yeah, and she was did this whole like neon setup in one of her acts. So now the VMAs, some of the highlight awards, Taylor Swift became the first solo female artist to win the MTV 2020 VMA for Best Director. So, yes, and so Taylor Swift is soon going to become one of the only artists, let alone female artists, who has released successful singles in every genre of music. Country, pop, alternative, rock. So she's really expanding herself in all lanes creatively. So now Lady Gaga performed a medley of her hits, including her new hit song with Ariana Grande, Rain on Me. She did over 7 costume changes. Of course, Lady Gaga is one of the fashionistas of our generation and is always doing something amazing and creative. So her and Ariana Grande won Best Collaboration of the Year and Song of the Year. It's always exciting when you see women winning the Best Song of the Year. And she also won, Lady Gaga was the first recipient of a new category award called the Tricon. So that's awarded to an artist who moves in successfully in music, film, fashion, is basically a triple threat icon. So that's pretty amazing. So, hopefully next year, if we all do our part in masking and distancing and sanitizing and making intelligent and smart choices, we can contain this virus and be able to safely get back to award shows and red carpets and concerts and all kinds of fun stuff that we love to do. So now, speaking of TV, a film powerhouse, so Tyler Perry, of his many, many other accomplishments, just passed into the billionaire lane. So Forbes just announced that Tyler Perry is the newest billionaire on the list. So just going down some of his assets. So Tyler Perry's net worth, breaking it down, so $320 million. In assets for his entire library of movies, TV shows, plays, and other creative endeavors. And he owns 100% of his creative content. So now this is something that we talk about continuously with all the artists and creatives that have come through our show. Just the importance, your bankability and earning potential really expands when you are in a position where you own all the rights to your creative product, because then you alone can make the licensing decisions and where it's placed in the market and get all the profit. So now Tyler Perry also has $3 million in cash and investments. So that's another lesson that many of our guests continuously have shared. And even Crystal Waters was saying this in her interview with us last week, that the key to fiscal success as an artist, a creator, is to diversify. As my dad used to say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So, you have to have multiple hustles and streams of income, especially right now with all the uncertainty of the world and the economy with COVID and everything. But especially as a creator, investing, having sideline businesses, one part of your wheel helps support the other. So now Tyler Perry also has $280 million dollars value for the Tyler Perry Studios, which of course was where Brandy and Monica recorded their Versus show from. And he also has a $60 million stake in the new streaming platform BT Plus, which of course, as part of that deal, BT has been running many of Tyler Perry's new shows, so he's creating more jobs and commerce for lots of other actors and technicians and all the different professional moving parts that go into putting films and plays and TV productions out there. He's truly creating opportunities and jobs and platforms for not only all of the stars that he has launched or already existing stars that he continues to give positive creative platforms to, but he's also, employing publicists, managers, marketing people, technicians, just so many people he's employing and helping, which overall helps the economy as well. So Tyler Perry also owns over $40 million in value of homes and real estate. So what are we learning from Tyler Perry just off the bat? Investments, both liquid assets like stocks, bonds, but then also investing in businesses, real estate, and multiple creative endeavors. So now in other TV news, so the wheels continue to move with the Ellen DeGeneres scandal. So American TV stations haven't canceled Ellen's show, but some big networks in Australia, 3 high-profile network in Australia has now pulled the Ellen DeGeneres show from their rotation indefinitely. Of course, over the summer, 3 high-profile producers from the show were fired amidst claims of sexual harassment going on behind the scenes, and employees have described a work culture at the Ellen show that, was toxic, where people were regularly yelled at and humiliated, and that's not an environment anybody wants to be in. People have made comments that they really didn't feel that she was apologizing enough to the employees. Of course, Warner Brothers is still conducting its own private investigation from a hired outside source. And of course, Ellen renewed her contract through 2022. So that also brings up other factors and complications about whether or not they would actually go on and fully cancel the show. And then, of course, Ellen also has streaming and development deals in place. So it's really just going to be interesting because this is more complicated than just, oh, we don't like somebody and we want to fire them. She has a lot of already pre-existing deals going. So it's going to be interesting to see just how this plays out, and if she'll be able to diversify professionally again after all this. On another note, personally, I just want to take a moment and talk about someone who pivotal in my life and career that I just lost this weekend. So 4 years ago, as some of you know who've been following me since the beginning of our show, now friend of mine, Lamar Burdell, reached out to me about having my own radio show. So, I hemmed and hawed and said, well, let's have a meeting and I'll think about it. And so on a special day, I was called in for a meeting at You Radio in Philadelphia. And I met this bubbly and positive and amazing gentleman, Nathaniel Wally. And we talked for a while, and I was asking questions about the station, and I hadn't done a radio show before, so I had reservations at first, and Nate was just so encouraging and kind and saw talents in me that I hadn't yet seen in myself, and he provided me the life-changing opportunity to have my own radio show when I was completely green. He mentored me and always was there giving me lots of positivity and support. And sadly, we lost Nathaniel this weekend. He had a sudden heart attack, and he later went on to be a reverend and open up his own church in Philadelphia. He was passionate about giving back to the community. He had been a staple in the fashion and creative community for years, and he saw something in me and just gave me this opportunity. And he had such a wonderful laugh and kind spirit and vibrant personality, and he never had a negative word to say about anybody, and he always treated everybody with kindness and respect. So out of everybody at that station, I'm the only one who still actively is in radio and doing a show, and I still keep up with all my peers there. It wasn't just a station, it was a family. I remember Nate always would have barbecues and team activities, and it wasn't a competitive environment, it was family, and we encouraged each other to succeed. And I've been blessed through a lot of hard work and consistency, and just to have so many amazing opportunities. I've only reached, some of my goals. I have so many, but with every success, I never lose fact of every benchmark that I reach or opportunity that just makes me happy and fulfilled. Every wonderful guest that I get to meet, or event that I get to cover, or red carpet that I get to host, I would never have had any of those opportunities that followed if Nate hadn't seen the talent in me and given me the opportunity and pushed me to try and to jump into this life. So I will forever be appreciative, grateful, indebted to just Nate for all that he gave to me in my life and his friendship, even when we didn't see each other all the time. As the years went by, whenever we did see each other, he had something nice and warm and congratulatory and supportive to say, and we would just always laugh and cut it up. He'll be missed. And again, I just want to say thank you, Nate, for giving me a window into other things that I just didn't see, and the opportunity to find new parts of myself and be creative, and to give a platform to others and meet so many amazing people through my show. So we're going to take another musical break, and when we come back, we're going to talk all about the NBA boycott and all the sports teams that are weighing in on all the things that are going on right now. So we're going to continue to jump into our Monica Pocket, and we'll be right back after this. Oh yeah, we played that one.
But you won't open your eyes. I'm all by my baby. I see a rook of my body. TikTok, pretty baby. You can get it back, don't you waste it. Grow from your past, gotta face it. Oh yeah, you're the key to the kingdom.
days that can't be erased. Although we need each other, things have changed. It's not the same. Sometimes it makes me wonder, where would I be if you hadn't discovered, which I did, inside of me. I know there was something that we could compare. Well, I never meant to cause you no pain. I just wanna go back to being the same. Well, I only wanna make things right before you walk out my life. Yeah. Remembering the good times from a porch in Hong Kong high. It's filled with so much color and the laughter we left behind. I make the choice when you couldn't decide. I make the choice, I was wrong, you were right. Deep down inside, I apologize. Never meant to cause you no pain. I just wanna go back to being the same. Well, I only wanna make things right before you walk out my life. Well, I never meant to cause you no pain. But I just wanna go back to being the same. And I only wanna make things right before you walk out my life. Hey, though I make plans with you to always have time for you before you walk out my life. I guess it's true. Can I live without you? Don't ever go away. Ooh, yeah. Never meant to cause you no pain, baby. I just wanna go back to being the same. And I only wanna make things right, baby, before you walk out my life. Oh yeah. Never meant to cause you no pain. I just wanna go back to being the same, baby. I only wanna make things right, yeah, before you walk out of my knuckles alive, baby. Never meant to cause you no pain, baby, believe me. I just wanna go back to being the same, baby. I only wanna make things right before you walk out of my life. Before you walk out my life. Yeah, and the wind is talking. Yeah, for the very first time. Well, the melody that pulls you towards it, painting pictures of paradise. He's singing, rise up to the light in the sky. Watch the light lift your heart up, burn your flame through the night.
And welcome back to Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends. So I send out support and love to all of you listening who've lost someone close to you during this time, and send out love to my baby bro Thomas, who just lost his brother this weekend as well. So now, last Wednesday, of course, were the NBA playoffs. So, I'm not really a sports girl. I know that's a surprise. But I am always following athletes who are using their platform to bring awareness to struggles, injustices, charities, and worthwhile causes and movements that need our support and awareness. So the NBA players, coaches, and owners took measures into their own hands. So last Wednesday, the NBA made it clear in statement and action that they support the Black Lives Matter movement while standing up against all racial injustices and inequality and police brutality. In the wake of the shooting of Jacob Blake, who was shot 8 times in the back and is currently in the hospital and facing paralysis. He was shot in the back by police in Wisconsin on Sunday. And the basketball team, the Bucks, collectively decided to take the league's most extreme statement and action yet to date by not taking to the court to play their playoff game against the Magic. Shortly thereafter, the NBA released a statement that all 3 of Wednesday's postseason games with Milwaukee versus Orlando and Houston versus Oklahoma City and Portland versus the LA Lakers were being postponed. And it also began a series of protests across all professional sports. So you had players from soccer, baseball, the women's NBA, who are all canceling games in solidarity with the Blake family and the Black Lives Movement, and using their platform and influence as athletes and public figures to step out and draw attention to many of the social injustices going on in our country and our society, and the pandemic of police brutality, as we all continue to advocate and protest for real reform and change. So none of the other teams in the NBA were aware that the Bucks were planning this protest, but given the impact, many teams and players and coaches just jumped right on board and are saying enough is enough, and was joining in on their statement. So the players first met on Wednesday night with the coaches to discuss next steps. So during their initial meeting, it was reported that the Lakers and Clippers were in favor of canceling the rest of the postseason, while the other 11 teams remained in favor of resuming playing. So, multiple reports indicated that LeBron James was particularly firm in his desire to shut down the rest of the postseason. And of course, LeBron James is not only a leader on the court, he continues to be an ongoing leader off the court with the LeBron Brown Foundation, building schools and houses for underprivileged youth, and being a constant voice speaking up for the culture and for injustices. So, later, though, some of the other teams decided that they didn't want to cancel. Some owners were on the side of LeBron, and some players were, but ultimately they decided on Thursday to resume the postseason games. Then at that point, they decided that the postseason is going to pick up either Friday or Saturday. So some of the players released statements that they felt that they could, weighing their options, they felt that they could make more of a statement from playing, because then people's eyes were continuously on them as a team, and that they could protest in lots of different ways during their games, as opposed to canceling the whole season. So I think this is something that could be argued either way. It does make a big statement when athletes across the board, if they unite and decide, hey, we're just not going to play, to rally for awareness and change and new legislation. But on the other hand, having constant unified visual imagery about these topics while they're playing also sends poignant and meaningful messages. And like anything where we're talking about the need for change, you have to continuously be persistent and have the issues in people's faces, so we don't forget and we don't become complacent. And of course, the important thing is that we vote, that we're engaged in our community, and how our legislators are voting on important issues that affect so many of us, and that our elected officials are on the side of change and not continuing policies and practices that disenfranchise many of our citizens and empower unfair treatment and not holding everyone accountable under the law equally for treating each other right and being accountable and responsible. So, of course, the whole world knows, and we're all in our own way processing and reeling from the news that actor, director, activist Chadwick Boseman died suddenly this weekend. So we're going to take a musical break. And when we come back, we're just going to pay tribute to Chadwick in depth and discuss why and how he was so important, his film career, and all the ways in which he was just such a pivotal force in positivity and empowerment. So, and the rest of our show's playlist is dedicated to Chadwick in message and spirit. We did truly lost a great one, and his impact will be felt for generations. So keep it locked into Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren, friends, and we'll be right back after this.
the storm comes, if we burn up, if the wells run dry, you're my reason to believe in another life. If it all ends and it's over, if the sky falls fire, best believe me, you will see me on the other side. You've been a friend of mine. Best believe me, you will see me on the other side. Let's talk about love. Is it anything and everything you offer? Or do you feel it on you? on me. If you do, I won't move. I ain't just cry for no reason. I ain't just pray for no reason. I give thanks for the day, for the hours, and another way, another life breathing. I did it all cause I feel good. I wouldn't do it all if you feel bad. Better live your life. We're running out of time. Let's talk about love. Anything you ain't wanted. Cause maybe tonight then my tears might let me know all the stars are closer. All the stars are closer. All the stars are closer. Maybe tonight then my tears might let me know all the stars are closer. All the stars are closer. All the stars are closer.
I'm always ready for a war again. Go down that road again. It's all the same. I'm always ready to take a life again. You know I'll ride again. It's all the same. Tell me who's gonna save me from myself when this life is all I know. Tell me who's gonna save me from this hell. Without you, I'm alone. Who gon' pray for me? Take my pain for me. Save my soul for me. Cause I'm alone to see. If I'm gon' die for you, if I'm gon' kill for you, then I spill this blood for you. Hey.
I fight the world, I fight you, I fight myself, I fight God, just tell me how many burdens left. I fight pain and hurricanes, today I wept. I'm trying to fight back tears, flood on my doorsteps. Life and living hell, puddles of blood in the street, shooters on top of the building, government aid ain't relief. Earthquake, the body drop, the ground breaks, the poor run with smoke lungs and scarred face. Who need a hero? You need a hero, look in the mirror, there go your hero. Who on the front lines at ground zero? My heart don't skip a beat even when hard times bumps the needle. Mass destruction and mass corruption, the souls of suffering men, clutching on deaf ears again, rapture's coming. It's all prophecy, and if I gotta be sacrificed for the greater good, then that's what it gotta be.
Pray for me. Take my pain for me. Save my soul for me. Cause I'm alone to see. If I'm gon' die for you, if I'm gon' kill for you, then I spill this blood for you. Hey, hey, hey. Who gon' pray for me? Take my pain for me. Save my soul for me. Cause I'm alone to see. If I'm gon' die for you, if I'm gon' kill for you, then I spill this blood for you. Hey. Just in case my fate come, I live by my own. I live by my own. I live by my own. Just in case my fate come, I live by my own. I live by my own. I live by my own.
And welcome back to Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Friends Radio. So we're sad to have to start this next segment. So on this weekend we lost an amazing actor, philanthropist, director, groundbreaker, and hero on and off of the stage. The amazing human being, Chadwick Boseman, who suddenly lost his 4-year battle to colon cancer, which nobody but his inner circle knew. So we're going to spend the remainder of our show discussing his life, his work, and his impact not only in film but in the world, period. So Chadwick Boseman, who played several historical figures. He played Jackie Robinson, who was the first baseball player of color to play on an integrated team. In the movie 42, which of course was Jackie Robinson's jersey number. And then he went on to play in 2014 the amazing, groundbreaking artist James Brown, which he would be nominated for an Oscar for. And then, of course, he went on in 2017 to play Thurgood Marshall, who later would become, after being a lawyer for the NAACP, Thurgood Marshall would later be appointed to the Supreme Court. And, of course, his role as a superhero, Black Panther, King T'Challa, which we'll get into further on in our tribute, launched him into superstardom, international stardom, role model and hero to many children, and source of pride and empowerment to many. Chadwick Boseman won a AACP Image Award and a Screen Actors Guild Award for his role in Black Panther. He was raised in South Carolina and, of course, attended acclaimed university, Howard University, where he studied fine arts. Chadwick began his acting career in New York City. I did not know this. He began his career as a director and a playwright, and he also taught in New York City. His first leading Hollywood film, of course, was 42. He would have other roles throughout his career in 21 Bridges, and he was also co-produced The Five Bloods, which is being released in 2020, and his final film, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, will be released later this year on Netflix. So now, his mother was a nurse, and his father worked for a textile factory, managing an upholstery business. Boseman started out on many TV shows. He had small roles in many shows, like The Heights. His first play, he directed his first play and wrote his first play, Crossroads, in junior high. And, of course, one of his teachers and friends, Felicia Rashad, who is a teacher at Howard University and mentored him at the time, and encouraged his talent, reached out to her good friend and prominent actor Denzel Washington to help fund the further education of many of her prize students to pursue supplementary educational acting programs at Oxford Middle Summer Program. And of course, as Chadwick later revealed during a poignant and touching speech at the Screen Actors Guild, and also when he was paying tribute to Denzel Washington this past year when he was receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award for the American Film Association, I believe it was. Chadwick just emotionally and with gratitude and warmth paid tribute to Denzel Washington, and just so humbly noted that he would not have reached the level of stardom that he did without standing on the shoulders of Denzel Washington, and Denzel giving him the leg up to further his education. Boseman got his first TV role in 2003 in an episode of Third Watch, and he would go on to have a brief stint as the character Reggie Montgomery in the soap opera All My Children. So at the time, Boseman, is a young actor, had issues with the way his character was being presented in the show. He didn't really feel that it was showing the African American male in a positive and educated light, and he didn't like the story options that they were putting forth for his character. He raised these concerns, and then he got released from his contract, and then they brought Michael B. Jordan on to assume the role, and they were both very young. They were teenagers at the time. Chadwick and Michael B. Jordan have been friends and peers for quite a number of years. Now, Chadwick Boseman would also go on to have supporting roles and guest roles in Law and Order, CSI, CSI New York, and ER. And then, of course, he would also go on to star in Lincoln Heights, and he appeared in his first film, The Express, the Ernie Davis story, in 2008. Now, he had been directing off-Broadway plays in the East Village when he auditioned for the role of Jackie Robinson in 42. And 25 other actors had been seriously considered for the role. But Boseman's bravery really, in the way he demonstrated his take on the role, impressed the director, and ultimately would go on to win him the role of Jackie Robinson. Now, in 2014, Chadwick starred opposite Kevin Costner in Draft Day, in which he played an NFL draft prospect. Later that year, he starred as James Brown in Get On Up, and he did all of his own singing and dancing in this film. And he just so embodied the spirit of James Brown, where you know that an actor has really done his job, that as you're watching the movie, you begin to forget that you're watching an actor and just truly feel like you're seeing that notable person's life, and you just mentally escape into the power of the story and not who's playing it. To me, I feel that, especially if we're talking about biopics, that's really the barometer of a poignant performance. So now in 2006, Chadwick began portraying the Marvel Comics character T'Challa, Black Panther, with Captain America Civil War. And it was the first of a 5-picture deal with Marvel. He headlined Black Panther in 2018, which was focused on the character and his home country of Wakanda in Africa. So, of course, this was just so important on so many levels. The Black Panther, of course, grossed hundreds of millions of dollars, and it was the first film to have a mostly African American cast in the superhero plot line. So, we all want to be able to see on the big screen and in movies and TV representations of ourselves. So this movie was so important and is so important on so many levels. But many of you might not know that even within his execution of his character, T'Challa, is Chadwick was an advocate fighting to present this story, his culture, in a proper and respectful and empowering way. And he was an advocate behind the scenes. So just some behind the scenes Black Panther stories here. So when Chadwick first met with the director of Black Panther, Ryan Coogler, it was while Coogler was watching Boseman act in an unfinished cut of Captain America: Civil War, and Boseman was speaking his lines in the South African dialect of, I believe you pronounce it Xhosa. Xhosa. So my apologies if I'm not pronouncing this correctly. But Chadwick and Ryan started talking about the way in which the character would be presented and the language that Black Panther and the other characters would speak in the film. So, Coogler wanted the characters to speak with a British accent. So, Chadwick was adamant about speaking Xhosa on camera, and his reasons was that since the story was supposed to be centered around Africanness and putting African aesthetics, language, and culture at the forefront of the story, Chadwick felt that it was so important that the dialects that the actors spoke during the film be African. So Chadwick was also fighting for African accents for many other reasons, because he was fighting against promoting the legacy of colonialism. Since the fictional kingdom of Wakanda is supposed to be of African nation, one that is self-sufficient, a representation of what could have been if African nations had not been colonized and plundered for their resources by outside powers. So Marvel Comics would have undermined one of the central motifs of Black Panther if it had gotten its way and forced its actors to adopt British accents to mimic the tongue of one of Africa's most powerful colonizers. So it was Chadwick that really took a stand to make sure that the characters all were speaking with African dialects, hence underscoring the message of African pride in the storyline. So Kenyan actress Lupita Nyong'o spoke in her native tongue, and though there wasn't, maybe some would argue, cohesiveness in one specific dialect of African tongue in the movie Black Panther, but Boseman was totally right. It would not have read right, and the movie would not have been as empowering and impactful if the actors weren't speaking in African dialect and language. So, as first African American with roots in Ghana, Boseman recognized that he had a responsibility to really make sure that, since this film was so important for the global impact of Black culture, that it was presented in the right way. And Black Panther has just broken so many doors wide open. And it just has launched so many careers, and that is largely in part because of the powerful performance of Chadwick Boseman, who was a leader not only on the screen but off. Chadwick, of course, as he silently battled his own battle with colon cancer, was continuously giving of himself, his time, his power, his strength, his influence, his kindness, and his heart, as he spent many hours at the bedside of sick children, as he read stories, and not for the fame and glory and acknowledgement, but for the connectivity, and helping to impact people and uplift people during times of struggle. He had a long-standing relationship with St. Jude's Children's Hospital and would visit many hospitals, reading stories and playing with children battling cancer. And it wasn't a photo op or looking for attention. These were things that he did out of his heart, and wanting to touch and connect with people. Black Panther now holds its place in history and was one of the most successful superhero movies of all time, having grossed to date more than $1 million in global box office sales. But the commitment of centering the story around Africanness was the true victory. With Boseman's sudden death, it leaves just such a big hole in the Marvel franchise, and a lot of people are going back and forth about how Marvel should handle the plot exposition of T'Challa and Black Panther going forward, because there was already a part 2 that was set to be filmed, part 3 rather, to be set and released. So there's 2 schools of thought. One is that they just kill the king off in the film, and then make somebody else the Black Panther. So, some are saying that then they just don't address it. I don't know how you could not. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction they go with that. But they have to address it with care and thoughtfulness, because it's a character and movie and franchise which was set to just go on for many sequels, really is sacred to a lot of people. So, and his place in history, and not only in film, but as an advocate, an activist. So, Chadwick was just a virtuoso actor. He had the rare ability to create a character from the inside out. And he knew how to really fuse dimensions into his role. And that's really what made him unique. And just also his professionalism. And he was just so giving of himself and just so gracious to his other actors, never competitive. You never heard stories of him just acting out with ego or being demanding or mistreating people on the set or disrespecting people. He truly had beauty and grace and style and elegance and such a big heart. Black Panther and Chadwick also influenced fashion in so many different and powerful ways, and he was just such an unassuming, powerhouse talent, and he was here for such a short amount of time, but made such a big impact. And it really goes to show, and we talk about this all the time, that you never know what someone is silently battling, what troubles and travails that they're going through. And it doesn't take much just to be kind and thoughtful of one another. It's such an amazing career ahead of him, but Chadwick did so much with the time that he had here. So his impact will just be here for years and years and years to come. Touching the lives of children and teenagers, and again, just being a role model and a hero and courageous, not only in the world of fiction and fantasy, but in the world of reality. He was always encouraging other people to speak up, to stand behind the artistic principles. If something didn't feel right to him, he stood up and he took a stand, not only on creative issues, but also on political and social issues. He was the first one to help charities, to provide opportunities for others, and everyone that worked with him all have said what a kind person he was. And there's so much footage out there of him just engaging with his fans and being so just warm and appreciative. And I think Chad really knew the importance that he had in society, and the responsibility that was put on his shoulders, being the star of Black Panther and the legacy of Black Panther and what it meant and means to so many people. A source of cultural pride, empowerment, strength, unity, brotherhood. And Black Panther has so many powerful moments in it where it just spoke about the importance of unity and brotherhood and being there for one another and respecting one another. And to me, Chadwick also just embodies courage and strength, because as it's now been circulated that many of the times when he was filming or on the red carpet, he was in the midst of or in between chemotherapy and other treatments for cancer. And I think of so many, hey AJ, I think of, so on this side of the fence, quietly you deal with these things and you just don't talk about it, but in pursuit of guests and things that you want to reach, and like in entertainment and broadcasting, you have to deal with so many rude and obnoxious and arrogant people a lot of the time, and see people who have only accomplished moderate things and just have such egocentric, demanding, obnoxious personalities. And here we have someone who was at the center of a franchise, not just a movie, but a franchise, and was making sure that every time he was in public, that he took that role seriously, of being a leader, of being the first, of inspiring his people, but also inspiring all of us to walk with grace and graciousness and kindness and appreciativeness. I mean, one thing that also struck me all the time was Chadwick Boseman was someone who knew that he had God-given talents, and he was blessed with an opportunity to touch people all around the world. Quietly knew that he was sick, and instead of being bitter and giving up or using that as a reason to lash out at other people, he decided quietly to make the most of the time he had and blaze the sky and be kind to others, and not use that as a reason or justification to be mean to other people. So you take that into context with so many other celebrities or people who reach the top and influential positions in business and Fortune 500 companies, and they just become total obnoxious, self-absorbed jerks. And they have everything at their table that they could ever want, and instead of using that to help others, they're just selfish and materialistic and think that it justifies them being jerks to people. And here you have this amazing, beautiful man who had all these things at his fingertips, and he knew that his time on this planet was limited, and so he used that time to uplift children. He used that time to uplift his peers, to empower, and just to walk with character in every way. So many people, including myself, look up to him, have been impacted by his work, not only on the screen but off the screen. And I think there's just so many life lessons that we can take from the life of Chadwick Boseman. So he leaves beyond, just leaves behind such an amazing and impactful legacy. I'm sad that we won't be able to see how his career would have evolved, and the growing power he would have had in the worlds of entertainment and commerce. He could have been a studio head. He could have done so many things, but he did so many great things while he was here. So we leave you with some of his speeches, and just to take these impactful messages with you. I think, he talks so often about purpose, and we talk about that here on the show. Purpose, finding your purpose, and walking your life with the choice to be kind, and the choice to think about the impact that you have on others. So if I can leave you with any messages today, I think it would be appreciate life. Appreciate the moments that we have with one another, because we never know when that will be snatched away. Be present. Let's step off the iPads and the devices and everything. Be present in your life, and be conscious of the choices that you make and the impact. And we thank Chadwick for all the amazing ways he stood up and didn't back down, and it was just a source of pride and inspiration for many. We'll be back with more Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends next week. Have an empowered and impactful day, and we'll be back. And rest in peace, and your legacy will move on for decades. So we're out. Have a wonderful day.
finally, I thought of Ali in the middle of the yard. In his elder years, drawing from his victories and his losses. Ali in the middle of the yard. In his elder years, drawing from his victories and his losses. At that moment, I realized something new about the greatness of Ali and how he carried his crown. I realized that he was transferring something to me on that day. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter in me. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter to me. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter to me. Sometimes you need to feel the pain and sting of defeat to activate the real passion and purpose that God predestined inside of you. God says in Jeremiah, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Graduating class, hear me well on this day. When you have reached the hilltop and you are deciding on next jobs, next steps, careers, further education, you would rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in the things you are here to fulfill. Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. When I dare to challenge the system that would relegate us to victims and stereotypes with no clear historical backgrounds, no hopes or talents, when I questioned that method of portrayal, a different path opened up for me. The path to my destiny. When God has something for you, it doesn't matter who stands against it. God will move someone that's holding you back away from a door and put someone there who will open it for you. If it's meant for you, I don't know what your future is, but if you're willing to take the harder way, the more complicated one, the one with more failures at first than successes, the one that has ultimately proven to have more meaning, more victory, more glory, then you will not regret it. Now, this is your time. The light of new realization shines on you today. Howard's legacy is not wrapped up in the money that you will make, but the challenges that you choose to confront. As you commit to your past, press on with pride and press on with purpose. God bless you. I love you, Howard. Howard forever.
I was saying to love goodbye, but I guess